Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Josh.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are the Hiking Fools, guiding you through the trails of Glacier National Park. And we love it. This hike, Aster Falls, Aster Park, Paradise Point, is a great hike in the location, the southeastern part of the park and your Two Medicine area. And we did this just recently, and it was a great time. We did it a couple times, actually. And it was really neat to see and remember all of the things that are included in this trail. It's a wonderful adventure, not too challenging, not too difficult, relatively flat for at least to the falls. And it's just over a mile to get there. So I think we have about 2.6 miles round trip to the falls. And there's a great spot to stop, Paradise Point, before you get there, right on the lake. And that's even less, just over a half mile out. So we are describing a couple of different options here, but Aster Falls and Aster Park is the main heading. And Sarah, so you're at Two Medicine Lake, and you start out on that South Shore trailhead, which leads to a lot of different places. Aster Falls is an easily achievable goal, and you can see some wildlife along the way. We're going to talk more about that. But what did you like? What did you see on Aster Falls?
Yeah, as Josh mentioned, Aster Falls Trailhead is located in the Two Medicine Valley, which is the southeastern corner of Glacier National Park. And you kind of go through East Glacier there to get to that area, and the Two Medicine Road kind of dead ends there. So once you go in, you're kind of stuck at the lake, and, there's various amenities there, restroom, you have a camp store, historic camp store, which we can talk about. But
I love the way you say it. You drive in and you're stuck at this beautiful alpine lake surrounded by people. You're just stuck. But there's a lot available to you to make it a comfortable trip. Mm-hmm. And Two Med, a lot of locals, and you might want to refer to it as Two Med.
Yeah. And the name. Let's talk about the name right away. There's some history there. Two Med comes from a Native American folklore, actually. It's a place where the indigenous peoples came for vision quests. It's very important to the indigenous peoples. On the east side of the park, it's home to the Blackfeet. On the west side, it's the Salish Kootenai. So when you go here, you can kind of feel the rich history, not just in the feeling, but also in a lot of the peaks that are named in this area as well.
Yeah, I love it. So many features in the east side of the park. Retain those indigenous names, and they're just fascinating. Love it.
Yeah. So the story goes, it's a place of two medicine lodges. One story says that two groups of the pagan tribe planned to meet in the valley for a medicine ceremony, but they failed to find each other, and instead they just set up two separate Sundance lodges or medicine camps on either side of the creek. So
yeah, I love it.
That's where the name comes from.
It is interesting knowing the name and where it comes from. Have a little respect for the heritage of the place. That adds to the experience. We've talked so many times about the sights, the sounds, the smells, all the sensory experience on each hike. And in addition, to add history and cultural significance, it's overwhelming. It's almost overload, but it just adds to the whole experience of hiking in Glacier. And if you're aware of some of these things, and hopefully we can share that with you, it enhances the whole experience.
The name is derived from Blackfeet tradition, referencing sacred areas where medicine lodges were built and ceremonies were held. So, like I said, it's one of the most sacred areas of the park to the Blackfeet. And this area obviously was also, as many areas in the park, especially lakes, were created by the glacier. And when you see this, you can see the bowl-shaped area. No glacier runoff to the lake anymore. So that's why you don't have that, milky turquoise in Two Medicine Lake. But it is also the highest lake you can drive to in the park.
Yeah, so it's over 5,000 feet.
Yeah, 5,163 feet, I believe. So you're right on 5,000 feet is that lower end, the beginning of the subalpine level. So you're kind of teetering on that as you hike the trail to Aster Falls, because there is, like you mentioned, there isn't a whole lot of elevation gains. You're kind of in that transition zone from a montane forest to the beginning, lower level of the subalpine.
Yeah. Beautiful area. And you're also teetering on large rocks if you enter into the lake. And at 5,000 feet, this lake is chilly.
It is cold and often pretty windy too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you've got to contend with some natural phenomenon as if you want to experience the whole thing. And I recommend it. Not many do it, but if you pop into the lake, and we've seen moose pop into the lake and swim around. So it's what a great place to kind of take in everything that Glacier has to offer. But today specifically, heading on the trail to Aster Falls, like we mentioned, you start out on that South Shore trailhead, which is to the left if you're facing the lake.
Yeah, it's right behind the boat dock there.
Yep, and there are a couple of junctions on this trail, and so just keep an eye out. It's well marked Aster Falls, and it's a beautiful falls, and it's, like we mentioned, just over a mile, relatively flat.
Yeah, it goes up a little bit in the beginning, but it does eventually level out. And it's your typical glacier trail. You've got some small rocks and some tree roots going across the trail. So if it's wet, it could possibly be slippery on those rocks and those roots and a little bit muddy as well. So I feel like hiking poles, it's a good idea to bring those.
Yeah, for sure. It's a trail in Glacier, so be prepared. It's not a boardwalk; it's not paved, and so be ready for that. Get your equipment all set. And we've got another episode out there, essential equipment for day hikes, and that might be helpful to listen to understand what you should bring, because Two Medicine is quite a trek from. Quite a drive from the Flathead Valley, depending on where you are, up and over the road or around on Highway 2, the southern sector. It's a ways, it's a couple of hours. And
it's about 2 hours.
Plan that into your day. And Sarah, one of the greatest things about this area, and specifically this trail, is the possibility for wildlife sightings. And moose this is prime moose habitat.
Yeah, it is. And off and on throughout the year, it's posted for bear frequenting as well. I've never seen a bear on this trail. We've been on the South Shore Trail quite a bit. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So on any trail in Glacier, just assume they're around and always be bear aware. But when you first get on the trail, pretty quickly, as you gain just a touch of elevation, you'll encounter a marshy area. That's a great place to encounter moose. There's 2 sets of beaver ponds that you will encounter, and that's your first set. And we have seen moose in there, in fact, just recently. So just a reminder to make sure you keep your distance from a moose if you see it, 25 yards from the big guys. So.
Oh yeah, they're huge. But the ponds and the marshes are right next to the trail. So you might find yourself upon a moose, and they're generally docile, but if you're watching them, it's just unbelievable. And people on the trail will share that. I don't know how many people say like, hey, there's a moose around the corner.
Yeah.
And then you get excited, and sometimes it has gone from there. So everybody's telling each other, moose around the corner. Is there a moose? I want to see a moose. And chances on this trail are excellent. But a lot of times, they'll move around a little bit. We've seen them stay right in that marshy area, stick their head up under the water and bring it up, eating the reeds and shoots below the water.
So the diet of a moose is primarily aquatic, and these beavers create this rich aquatic ecosystem that wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the beavers. So the moose really like that. They love to go down and eat those aquatic plants. They have the ability, they've got that long snout, and they have the ability to kind of close off those nostrils to make sure no water gets in there. And we've seen them fully submerge before, not necessarily here, but they can submerge for up to 30 seconds, which is kind of cool. Most of the time when we see moose in the park, they're very close to water. So this is your first section of beaver ponds in a marshy area. And the next thing you will encounter is your spur to go to Paradise Point. And that drops a little bit of elevation. So just be mindful of that as you're going down. But Paradise Point is just another viewpoint of Two Medicine Lake, just a little bit further down.
Right on the lake. Yeah. Easy to reach. It's awesome.
It's beautiful.
It is.
It's a great spot to really view all the mountains around there.
Yep. Take the time and head off the trail to catch that. And then you're back on your way to Aster Falls. And Sarah, I want to hear more about the moose. I know you've got you're understanding their behavior so much. We're gonna touch on that as soon as we return. Take a short break. Stick with us.
Ever notice how a good trail mix has all the right stuff? Nuts for energy, raisins for sweetness, chocolate because chocolate. At Freedom Bank, we've got the right mix too. Personalized service, smart solutions, and technology to bank from anywhere in the Flathead Valley or beyond. proud sponsor of Hiking Fools, because life's better with good snacks and a great bank. Member FDIC.
For everything summer in Montana, think Snappy's. Snappy Sports Center is not only your fishing and hunting headquarters, they're also stocked with hiking boots, backpacks, camping gear, bear spray, and outdoor clothing for the whole family. Located on the corner of Highways 2 and 35 on your way to Glacier Park and away from the traffic on Highway 93. Forgot something? They probably have it. Need something? They definitely have it. Skip the traffic and stock up on adventure with Snappy Sports Center, a store like no other since 1947.
Welcome back. We are the Hiking Fools today in this episode discussing Aster Falls, a great hike in the Two Medicine area of Glacier. And where we left off, Sarah, we were at Paradise Point, which is a quick stop off that's definitely worth it. And we were talking about moose.
Yeah, and honestly, Paradise Point is good on the way in or the way out, but I think a lot of people like to go to Aster Falls and on the way back stop there, and that's a perfect lunch spot. And I want to bring in the leave no trace principles too, to make sure that what that means is whatever you pack in, you take out with you. So if you're snacking on the trail or you brought in a lunch, that's perfectly fine. Just make sure you don't leave food particles, wrappers anywhere, try to stay on the trail. Don't pick the wildflowers. Don't take any of the rocks, type thing. So anytime you're on the trail in Glacier, you need to practice those principles. So I just wanted to touch base on that real quick. But if you decide you don't want to do Paradise Point and you're headed to Aster Falls shortly after that junction, you will encounter the largest of our two beaver ponds area. And we've often seen moose in this area too. And you can see a beaver lodge in there. I've also seen quite a few different waterfowl in there as well. And I feel like the backdrop is dominated by Sinapa, which is spectacular. And we can talk about those mountains when we get back to the trailhead. But it's just a really, really beautiful spot. And there's usually a ton of wildflowers in this area as well. So make sure you take the time to look in there.
Yeah, Sinapa is that mainstay, huge peak that you see from Two Medicine, the foot of the lake, and just surrounded by incredible peaks. But Sarah, the wildlife is a big draw in this area.
Yeah, Glacier. So North America has 4 moose species. So we have your Alaskan moose, that's your main one, and then we have 3 other subspecies. And here in Glacier, it's often called the Wyoming moose or the Yellowstone moose, but we have the smallest subspecies of moose. It's called the Shiras moose.
Smallest. I've stood next to these. Are close enough to understand that their shoulder is like over my head, and I'm 6 feet tall. So smallest subspecies, that's incredible to know, but it's huge.
Yeah, at their shoulder, they can be about 6 feet and 600 to 800 pounds, depending if it's male or female. And these guys are solitary animals, so you won't see the animals together unless it's a cow with her calf, or in the fall you see, the bulls. They get a little bit crazy with all the hormones that are going through them. They're a little more dangerous and unpredictable at that time. So if you're hiking in Glacier in the fall and you encounter a male moose, just beware of that. We've had to kind of scoot our way around a moose
Ski-daddle.
before.
I think you were going to say ski-daddle. Let's get out of here.
Yeah. The moose are also able to adapt to the changing seasonal landscape because they've got those really long legs. So they're super adaptable to walk in all the deep snow, although the snow can also make them a little bit susceptible to predators like the wolves or the mountain lions in the area. But they do a pretty good job surviving in this area here, and they're such a treasure to see.
Yeah, for sure. Love seeing moose. A lot of people come here. They want to see the grizzly bear, but the moose is next on the list. Is enough people that I talk to. Where can we see a moose? And of course, this is the area that we often direct them to.
Yeah, it's the largest of all the deer species, and males shed their paddle like antlers every winter. So if you get to see, like this time of year when we were just there in the spring, the antlers were just coming out and they were still in velvet. But if you wait later in the season, you can see that full paddle-like spread, which is pretty incredible. And they're super great swimmers too. We were there one time having a picnic on Two Medicine Lake, and one swam across right in front of the boat dock from one end to the other, like it was nothing.
Yeah. So you're seeing wildlife. You're on your way to the falls. Aster Falls, it's I love it. I love the naming of this ancient Greek word for star. You might know that. It's a daisy-like perennial flower that bloom in late summer and fall. And, it just ends up being this wonderful purple lavender color with a yellow center. And, it's like a daisy. Classic daisies are not native to North America. Mostly Europe and Asia, but an aster, compared to a daisy, the plant is much taller, 2 to 5 feet tall, whereas a daisy kind of sits more closer to the ground, 6 to 18 inches. And a difference in the appearance a little bit as well. If you're looking closely, the aster, the petals overlap like shingles, and in a daisy, they're all the same length, kind of like a small fence is a way to describe it. And you see a lot of these in other places of the park. Logan Pass, you see a lot of aster, and these attract pollinators, so bees and butterflies, and they're just a beautiful part of the landscape, and especially some of those meadows.
Yeah, I love to see the wildflowers right in front of the Beaver Ponds area. So if you hike along, it's not too much further, and you get to the junction to go to Aster Falls or Aster Park Viewpoint.
And this is where it, you start to...
The trail dead ends in this if you take the junction to the left to either of these spots.
If you get to the park, yeah. But This is where it starts to go, increase in elevation gain a little bit. You start to go uphill, and
after the falls.
Mm-hmm. And you notice it. I think it's an additional, maybe another half mile just over from the falls to the park, or to Aster Park, where you see the viewpoint. And that gains 700 feet, I think. So it's not for everyone to go there, but overall, this hike is a hike that suits almost everyone in the group. And it's kind of neat that you can stop off at each one of these places, and those that are itching for more adventure, can head all the way up and get the high viewpoint.
Yeah, you can see the surrounding peaks. You can see the lake. You can also see where you came from, where your car is parked, which is kind of cool. So you're either coming down from the viewpoint, or you're coming back from the falls, and you make your way back to the trailhead. You might see your moose again.
Sure,
you never know.
A couple opportunities on this hike.
Yeah. So you get back to the lake where you started, and it's a perfect place to take some photographs of your group. And in fact, I would recommend that before you even start, if you start in the morning before it gets too busy, because this area can be rather crowded. But if you're looking out at the lake, that we talked about the indigenous peoples, this is a 2-mile long lake, and it's surrounded by some pretty dominant peaks. So you've got your huge takeover mountain on your right called Rising Wolf. And then the next one going from right to left would be Helen. Mm-hmm. And then you have Lone Walker off in the distance. And then the dominant one is Sinopah right there in the middle. Then you have Painted Teepee. And then you have Never Laughs and Apostoki. Yeah. So there's a little bit of story there. And I think you're aware of this too, Josh. So Lone Walker was a Blackfeet chief, and Sinopah was his daughter. And Rising Wolf was named after her husband, which was Hugh Monroe. He was a fur trader that became here in the late 1800s, and he married Sinopah, and they had children together, and he lived with the Blackfeet, and they gave him the name Rising Wolf.
Yeah, he was incorporated into their culture. I think he put himself in that position and was accepted.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. So you look at these mountains, you're like, they're kind of all in the family, which is really, really cool.
Love it. And the mountain, that everybody asks, what mountain is that? Sinopah. And then to the left, Painted Teepee, you'll notice that based on the shape. So it's just a beautiful lake, mountain peaks surrounding it, little trails on either side. You can get up to passes on the right side. You can get to falls, and, you climb some of those peaks on the left side. Grizzly Mountain is up that direction. But then there's berries along the trail, Sarah. This is loaded with, I remember, depending on season, loaded with huckleberries.
And thimbleberries.
Ooh, yeah.
There's a little history here, too, with when the park was established. So way back in the beginning, the Great Northern Railroad, James J. Hill, his son Lewis Hill, kind of took over the railroad and promoted tourism towards the park, and they built several chalets throughout the park. And so there used to be, and you can find pictures online and in some books, it's really cool, but there used to be a chalet complex right here on the shore of Two Medicine Lake, and all those buildings were destroyed in a fire, or the Park Service tore them down. The only thing left standing is the Two Medicine Camp store. So that's really cool. It used to be the dining hall and the kitchen area for the complex there, and it was built in 1912 by the Great Northern Railroad. So it's kind of cool to kind of go in there and see, the floors are still that creaky wood and the smells just talk of time.
Yeah, no, you've got all kinds of options there. So you drive the long and winding road to the end, the dead end here at Two Medicine Lake Camp Store. The trail we're discussing off to the left on the South Shore trailhead, Aster Falls, and you can check out Paradise Point or head all the way up to Aster Park, the overlook, the viewpoint. And, we've got, that's a 3.8 mile round trip, just under 1,000 feet of elevation gain. There are many options, perfect to suit everyone in your group. And it's just a terrific hike.
And a great place, again, to see wildlife. We didn't mention, but the bighorn sheep. We see a lot of ewes, so the female bighorn sheep in this area. The Two Medicine Camp Store area is a good corridor between either side of the mountain ranges and even up at Aster Point Overlook.
That's right. So enjoy this one. We definitely do. And check out our Instagram page at Hiking Fools MT to see some great photos from our recent adventures, including this hike. Tune in next time, check out more episodes online, and remember to follow us on Spotify, YouTube, or Apple Podcasts. I'm Josh.
And I'm Sarah.
And we are the Hiking Fools, encouraging you to always go.